Mangwana ni mwalelepo vukenjani Class Vanava Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. We will be joined by talent Gore as she delivers the Zimbabwe report just after our top stories. But prior to that, these are some of the stories we're looking at. AFDB warns Super El Nino could cost Africa up to $20 billion. Uganda's Olara Otunnu enters United Nations Secretary General race. Saied launches new party as Senegal ruling camp division deepens. Thousands march in Tunis demanding President Kais Saied resign. And 7 players to watch as WAFCON 2026 gets underway. Speaking of WAFCON 2026, we had some amazing games yesterday. Tanzania getting the best of former champion South Africa 2-1 with an incredible goal from Hasnath Ubamba towards the end of that game. And then Cote d'Ivoire benefiting from a brace from Ines Konan, defeating Burkina Faso emphatically with a 4-1 scoreline. That's the latest at WAFCON, and this is Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we'll be getting into our top stories. My name is Ashwin Berry.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
Let's get into our top stories. The African Development Bank has warned that an impending Super El Nino could inflict losses of between $10 billion and $20 billion across affected African countries while triggering mass migration from the hardest hit areas. Anthony Niño, the bank's director for climate change and green growth, told Reuters the weather event could reduce the gross domestic product of heavily affected countries by between 1% and 2% on average. Forecasters have warned current Pacific Ocean warming trends could produce one of the strongest El Nino events ever recorded. Beyond threats to food and water security, damaged infrastructure could undermine government finances and banking sectors as countries struggle to repay related loans. The FDB previously forecast Africa's economy would grow by 4.2% this year and 4.4% in 2027 before the latest El Nino projections emerged. Now, Ugandan diplomat Olara Otunnu has joined the contest to become the next Secretary General of the United Nations, becoming the 7th candidate seeking to succeed Antonio Guterres when his second 5-year term ends later this year. Uganda submitted Otunnu's nomination in a letter to the President of the United Nations General Assembly and Security Council. Otunnu, a former United Nations Under-Secretary General and Special Representative for Children and Armed Conflict, is the oldest candidate in the race at 75 years old. In his vision statement, he called for continued institutional reforms and said he would prioritize efforts to help end major international conflicts. He also pledged to establish a body to oversee United Nations work on artificial intelligence and highlighted climate change action that does not undermine economic development. Other declared candidates are Rafael Grossi, Michelle Bachelet, Rebecca Grynspan, Maria Fernanda Espinosa, Caroline Rodriguez Burkett, and Macky Sall of Senegal. The selection process is expected to begin with Security Council straw polls this week. Now, President of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has launched a new political party formalizing his split from former Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko and the ruling PASTEF party that brought them to power in 2024. Faye introduced the Kirai Republican Patriots Party during a gathering in Dakar, describing it as the majority party in the country. Kirai means shield in the Wolof language. Faye and Sonko, once leading figures of Senegal's anti-establishment movement, have been engaged in a power struggle lasting several months. Faye dismissed Sonko in May, but Sonko later became Speaker of the National Assembly while remaining leader of PASTEF, which continues to hold a large parliamentary majority. The political developments come as Senegal faces a crisis following the revelation of misreported debt under the previous government. The launch of Kirai formally establishes Faye's new political platform while confirming the separation between him and Sonko after their partnership helped secure victory in the 2024 election. The division now places the country's leadership within separate political structures, despite PASTEF retaining its dominant parliamentary position and influence over the legislature. Now, thousands of Tunisians gathered in the capital, Tunis, and this is calling for President Kais Saied to step down as the country marked 5 years since he suspended parliament before later dissolving it and governing by decree. Demonstrators carried signs reading "Get out, game over," and "Only Kais remains happy," while chanting slogans against the president. Protesters said they were demonstrating against worsening living conditions, democratic backsliding, and the mismanagement of the state. Academic and sociology researcher Moldi Gasomni described the march as an appeal for citizens to rediscover the values and principles of the republic, saying those principles had been abandoned since he called a coup d'etat against the constitutional order in July 2021. The protest followed previous demonstrations opposing crackdowns on dissent, economic difficulties, and restrictions on press freedom. Protesters also displayed portraits of imprisoned journalist Morad Jidi, while his sister urged people to resist, saying citizens were oppressed and imprisoned and that those who could contribute to the country were behind bars. The demonstration also came during growing social tensions as Tunisia experienced intense heat waves, wildfires, and repeated electricity and water outages. All right, now as we know, the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations began on Sunday with host Morocco getting the best of Kenya in a 4-0 victory, and we spoke about last night's result, Tanzania beating South Africa 2-1 and Cote d'Ivoire defeating Burkina Faso 4-1. But let's talk about some of the players to watch in this tournament, because this competition also serves as qualification for the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup, with 4 semi-finalists securing places in Brazil. Now, BBC Sport Africa identified 7 players to watch. Nigeria's Esther Okoronkwo inspired the Super Falcons to a record-extending 10th title last year with 2 goals and 6 assists. Malawi's Tabitha Chawinga leads one of the tournament debutants after helping Lyon secure another domestic title. Morocco captain Ghislaine Chebak is also in the conversation. Kenya goalkeeper Lilian Awoa helped her country return to the finals after 10 years by saving 2 penalties. So we'll be keeping an eye on those ladies and more as WAFCON continues to wow the continent. This is Africa Good Morning. After the break, we are joined by talent Gore. It's time for our correspondent in Harare, Zimbabwe, Talent Gore, to join us with the latest from the country. Talent Wamkase.
Tamke Dukana Mamkal, Mamkase Africa.
Tamuka Hedu. Now, Talent, when I had the privilege of driving on the roads of Zimbabwe, you knew that there were several times you were paying fees, whether it was road access fees, whether it was those stops, several of them at several road signs, at road stops rather. And now we're seeing that the government wants to ease driving for Zimbabweans because we understand that they are scrapping road access fees for the first time in 17 years.
Yes, that's true. Zimbabwe has abolished the road access fee, ending a 17-year levy that effectively required motorists to pay twice for using the country's road networks after the nationwide expansion of toll gates. Transport and Infrastructure Development Minister Felix Mona said that Statutory Instrument 113 of 2026, which was gazetted on July 24, gives legal effect to the removal of the fee, which had become redundant after the Zimbabwean National Road Administration rolled out toll gates across the country's highways. The road access fee was introduced in 2009 before Zimbabwe established a national tolling system. As Zinara expanded its network of toll plazas, motorists entering the country were required to pay the road access fee at border posts before paying additional toll charges as they traveled on the same roads. The abolition forms part of wider government program launched after President Emmerson Mnangagwa directed ministries, departments, and agencies to review taxes, licenses, permits, and regulatory charges with a view of eliminating unnecessary costs and improving the ease of doing business. The removal of the road access fee is expected to lower the cost of cross-border travel and freight movement, benefiting commercial transporters, cross-border operators, and private motorists entering Zimbabwe through ports of entry such as Bay Bridge, Chirundu, and Forbes border posts. So this was gazetted through Statutory Instrument 113 of 2026, which was published on July 24. So the road access fee has been abolished after 17 years. It was introduced before the coming in of a proper tolling system in which the government introduced toll gates on the roads. So it was now redundant for motorists to pay the road access fee when they're entering the country and also pay along the way all the toll gates that are along the highways in Zimbabwe. So this will bring relief to transporters, especially those who are traveling from other countries will be trying to access roads to connect to other countries. So this is quite commendable. And many Zimbabweans, rather citizens, are saying that this is quite commendable what the government is doing to try and bring relief to motorists, transporters, and everyone alike.
All right. Talent, let's get straight into your next story. I won't lie to you. I almost cried when I saw those toll gates, knowing that things would be easier that side. But let's move on. Nelson Chamisa, former leader of the CCC, former leader of the MDC. He has been an opposition leader in Zimbabwe for about close to 2 decades, whether he's been at the helm or not. We know that he was forced to abandon the CCC brand. He did say that he is planning on starting a new political movement, which has taken him to London. Talk to us about that.
Yes, our former Citizens Coalition for Change leader Nelson Chamisa is set to begin a diaspora consultation tour of the United Kingdom this week, taking his push to build a new political movement to Zimbabweans in the diaspora. It is starting in London, Manchester, and then Kobe. Chamisa quit as Triple C leader in January 2024, alleging the party had been infiltrated and has since been consulting on a replacement movement under what he calls Agenda 2026. On January 23 last year, Chamisa set out what he termed the immediate agenda, a 180-day program of what he described as legal and institutional groundwork and grassroots organizing ahead of forming a new movement. That 180-day window lapses this week, with the UK leg of his diaspora consultations opening as the deadline he set himself in January runs out. Chamisa said the trip forms part of a diaspora citizens consultation, engagement, and listening tour aimed at hearing directly from citizens, from Zimbabweans rather, living in the UK. This tour is an opportunity. This is what Chamisa said. He said that this tour is an opportunity to hear citizens' perspectives, engage on the challenges and opportunities facing our nation, and strengthen the vital partnership between Zimbabwe and its diaspora. The tour would take Chamisa to London on Thursday, Manchester on Friday, and Kobe on Sunday. So this is something that he's now racing against time. He had given himself a 180-day 180 day for him to come up with a new coalition rather, or a new political party in some sort. So that 180-day lapses this week and he has to do something. So right now he's starting in the UK, where he will be engaging with Zimbabweans who are living in the diaspora to hear their challenges and what they expect from him as an opposition political leader, and what they hope the new party will entail when he decides to launch one. But he hasn't said anything about launching that same engagement rather in Zimbabwe. So we're hoping that after the UK tour, he will be coming to Zimbabwe and he will be engaging with citizens back home.
Yeah, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on Nelson Chamisa. I know a lot of his critics, who are actually a lot of his followers, have been getting bothered by the fact that they're more likely to find a verse than some sense of political direction whenever they ask for discourse or definitive positions with regards to Zimbabwe, especially in a moment where we see the Constitution Amendment Bill 3 has been passed, and we do understand that there's a democratic process with adequate steps which must be taken, but people have felt like that process has not been fair and or democratic in any shape or form, and thus the purported silence of Nelson Chamisa has been a huge issue for dissenting voices in Zimbabwe. So it's good to see some semblance of formality coming to his political brand. Now, Talent, we end with some economic news as Zimbabwe adds a freight rail option to lithium export gateway.
Yes, the National Railways of Zimbabwe said that on Tuesday, its collaboration with private operators now provides capacity to haul lithium concentrate to Maputo port in Mozambique by rail, expanding logistics options for the battery mineral. Africa's top lithium producer, which is Zimbabwe, mostly trucks the bulk mineral to ports, a more expensive option fraught with logistical bottlenecks. The state-owned railway company said in a statement it had partnered with Beitbridge Bulawayo Railway, a unit of South Africa's Green Road and Zimbabwean logistics firm Silvergill, to send the first 1,000 metric tons of lithium concentrate from Chinghan Holding Group's Gwanda lithium mine to Maputo. The first 180-kilometer stretch of the consignment would be the Beitbridge Bulawayo Railway track between Gwanda and Beitbridge, the NRZ said. The NRZ's 300, the National Railways of Zimbabwe's 300-kilometer line then connects Beitbridge and Chikulala border post with Mozambique, the rail said. The NRZ has struggles for years due to underinvestment by the government, and has stepped up collaborations with private logistic firms to boost freight volumes, which collapsed from a peak of 12 million tons in the 1990s to 2 million tons in 2025. Most of Zimbabwe's lithium mines are along a west-southeast rail corridor leading to Mozambique, from where the minerals are shipped to South Africa. Chinese miners, including Shenzhen Hong Cobalt, Sinomine Xinchonghang, Chengxin Lithium and Qingshan Zimbabwe's lithium sector after investing about 2 billion in mines and plants since 2021. Zimbabwe exported 1.13 million tons of lithium-bearing concentrate to China in 2025, accounting for about 15% of its lithium concentrate imports for the year. So as right now, Zimbabwe, the government banned the importation of concentrated lithium straight to China. They are trying to work in the region and to try and ensure that everything that brings out the lithium in Zimbabwe is benefiting. And right now they're trying to resuscitate the railway system, which leads to Mozambique, where they can then ship the lithium to China. But as of now, this is what is happening. They are trying to resuscitate the railway system in Zimbabwe to ensure that the minerals are transported directly by rail from Zimbabwe to Mozambique and then by sea from Mozambique to China.
All right. Thank you very much, Talent, for delivering such a comprehensive Zimbabwe report as only you can.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good having you on Africa. Good morning. We're going to wrap up with highlights from the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. As we stated earlier, Tanzania beat South Africa 2-1 and Cote d'Ivoire defeated Burkina Faso 4-1 in a game where Ines Konan had a braces 2 goals. And these highlights do belong to the Confederation of African Football. As we say goodbye on DStv 285, GOtv 25, 1up2.com, Network Media Hub, and NTV Afrika.my.na. Suraj Kanaka.
Of the teams. Burkina Faso are closer to the net. Let's go. Burkina Faso is about to score the first goal. What a save from the goalkeeper. The save is on. The referee whistles. Everyone is waiting. What a great goal. Goal. What a goal from Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire just opened the scoring and are taking the lead. What a great moment for Cote d'Ivoire fans from Cote d'Ivoire who are closer to scoring the second goal of this game. What a goal. Cote d'Ivoire just added another goal just in the first quarter of this first half. Cote d'Ivoire, they are now returning after a long absence to the expanded 16 competition. What a third goal from Cote d'Ivoire. We have said it before. This is a great game. Scoring hat-trick. Play harder and make sure that they don't concede any goals. What a fourth goal for Cote d'Ivoire. This is what Burkina Faso were fearing, actually. Sierra Safi Ouedraogo scored the fourth goal of this match. Only minutes after the goalkeeper of Burkina Faso was sent off. Burkina Faso have the possession now. Are they going to make it and score the goal? What a great goal! This is the first goal of Burkina Faso in this game. What a great change. As we said, there's still half an hour into the game, even though there's also for the second goal. I think this is the final whistle.